Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of First Canada Live. That's right. This is the show where we talk about robots. We tell stories about some of the coolest things that we've seen over the years. It is going to be a very good time. Right now, before we get started, as we get started, I'd like to introduce my co-host for today's show, Youth Council member from Team 2056, Emily. Hey, Emily F, because we got another Emily coming up later. Emily, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. So you co-hosted the very first episode of First Canada Live.
That's correct.
Way back when. We're up to episode 11 right now, and I want to know, what's been your favorite segment so far? You've been part of a few of them, but what have been your favorites?
I think my favorite was the Kahoot with Paul Keenan.
Oh, of course,
with Swaggy P.
Swaggy P. That's right. Yeah, the Kahoot was pretty good. How did you enter the Kahoot? Did you win?
I did. No, I didn't. I got 30th place or something.
There was a lot of people in that Kahoot, so that's still pretty. That's still pretty solid right there.
Yeah.
How have you been spending your self-isolation break? I know a lot of schools are back with some online courses going on right now, but what else have you been up to, Emily?
Well, first, the Youth Council just started a new CAD challenge that I've been working on.
Do you want to tell us about the CAD challenge?
Yeah, sure. So it's a challenge. It has 3 levels, so beginner, intermediate, advanced, depending on what level you are of CAD. And pretty much, so the beginner is create an object that you'd find in a first city.
Okay.
Intermediate is create a spaceship that you find flying above the first city. And advanced is create a robot that you'd find in the first city, but it has to be functional. So you have to make a functional robot for the third one.
That's a pretty fun challenge right there. That's really neat that the Youth Council came up with it. What was the whole idea behind coming up with this sort of challenge?
We realized that a lot of people have been very bored at home because the first few weeks schools weren't really doing much because they didn't know what was going on. So we thought, okay, we need to get something because everyone's just super bored, and this is something everyone loves, and it brings it all back to robotics. So this is what you do in robotics. You CAD stuff. So
that is perfect. Thanks to the Youth Council for putting that out there. We'll make sure we get a link dropped into the chat so people who want to sign up for the challenge can do so, and pay attention to First Canada Instagram where there's usually updates on this sort of stuff. So thank you, Youth Council. But Emily, enough about the CAD challenge. They can all work on that after the show because right now we got a great show with some very great guests. Today we have story time with we have 3 people coming on for story time today, all Dean's List finalists. So from alum of Team 1360 and First Canada game announcer Celeste Nantel, we have 2 team showcases, one which is a double feature. We got Team 77 who?
Oh, 772.
Come on, focus up, Emily.
Sorry.
Along with their FTC team, Team 16183, Sabre, Bytes, Robotics. We got a team showcase with Team 7520, MineKee. And for our first story time, we got 2 alums from Team 771. We got a real great throwback story back to the Calgary Regional in 2013. We got Laura Lee and Ankita Sharma. So if you have questions for any of our guests, co-hosts, panelists, anything at all, drop it in the Twitch chat. We'll do our best to get to it during the show, or maybe our guests will pop into the chat and have a discussion with you right there. Also, remember, we're here to celebrate everything that's good and excellent about our community, so let's keep our comments all graciously professional, and let's just have a lot of fun like we're doing already. So let's start off with our first segment. Story time is back. We have 2 amazing alums from Team 771. They were both Dean's List finalists, one in 2013, that was Ankita Sharma, and one in 2014, Laura Lee. So welcome, Laura and Ankita.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's great to have some of our long distance alumni on the show. Ankita was just telling us earlier, she's coming to us live from Switzerland right now. So that's awesome. And Laura's coming to us live from Oakville. That's not as exciting, but normally you're living in California right now, right?
I just got back from California.
How was that trek?
It was okay. The borders closing made everyone a bit on edge, but everyone is in good spirits.
Well, it's really glad to have you here. Emily, are you familiar with the story of Calgary 2013 and the one-person team?
No, I'm not.
Well, you're going to find out about it right now because Laura and Ankita were right there when I'm going to let you tell most of the story, but I'm going to a little bit of a preamble. We get to the Calgary Regional. It's the first year of the Calgary Regional. So pretty much every team who wasn't from Alberta other than 4334 was a rookie that year. But we had about 4 teams come from Ontario to kind of help support what was going on at this event. And there was one team, and it was just one student. And it was a complete adventure and an amazing story. So Ankita and Laura, tell us all about it.
Yes, so I guess this one team, it was the one team man that could. His name was Herman, and basically his pit bordered our pit. I remember he was right behind us at the Calgary Regional. And it was crazy because we were just waiting for the whole day for his team to show up. And we were so confused. So we asked him, like, where's your team? Like, how's it going? Like, how has your experience been so far? And then he was telling us that, yeah, his team quit. There were originally 4 people, but throughout build season, the other 3 members had quit. So he really wanted to come down to competition. So he came by himself and his family drove him down, and his one mentor was going to meet him later in the day. So we were totally astounded by this story. It was amazing. I mean, just that level of initiative and perseverance is incredible.
And Ankita, how far was he coming from? Because it's not like he was just like from the Calgary area. He was.
Yeah, I think he drove down maybe like 4 or 5 hours from Fort Mercury. I think, is that
Fort McMurray?
Yeah, Fort McMurray.
Yeah, McMurray, yeah. Yeah, and so his robot wasn't ready to compete at that moment, but it had been our 3rd regional that year. So we were really excited to help him just because, I don't know, it's always really exciting to get a robot started. And the Robodogs who had their pits beside us also helped out with that. So it was really cool.
I think that it was the first ever, as they called it, blended drive team in first history at that point, because he was only one person on the team. So we had to contact First HQ and ask them to get permission for other people to join his drive team, because he clearly couldn't drive, operate, and coach himself. So we had one person from each of the other teams join his drive team. So there was a 771, Robodogs, and 1305 that comprised of the drive team and human player.
And so do you remember what happened during Alliance selection?
Yeah, I do. It was such a crazy moment.
This was, because I was out there on the field. So please, this is like the coolest thing.
So what happened was that his dad had to go back to work. So we all just assumed that he had already left. We had rebuilt his robot from scratch at this point. No one was expecting for him to make Alliance selection. So he had already left. But then when it came around to Alliance selection, he was picked for the 5th Alliance. And
so what was crazy about this is that we had a plan, because I will say a lot of us actually did it, because I think you're kind of underselling the work that Herman and yourselves did, because that robot turned out to be a lot better than a lot of the other teams at the event. So we had a feeling he was going to get picked. But since we knew at this point, we believed Herman was gone. We believed Herman was left. The story that I had heard is that Herman had to catch a flight back to Fort Mac. So I had a little speech ready. It'd be like, we'd like to thank everyone for their gracious professionalism. Unfortunately, Herman's team is going to have to decline as he had to leave. I started telling this speech, and then out of nowhere, Herman comes running down out onto the field. And like, he was wearing a scarf, and like his scarf was like blowing in the wind almost. There was no wind, but it just seemed like this dramatic moment. And the crowd.
Like a superhero.
Yes.
Oh, wow, Herman.
And the crowd was already cheering when his team got called, because everyone kind of had heard the story. And like, there was the 4 teams who were helping like directly, but pretty much every team was pitching in to help this out, because like the whole event had came together. And when Herman came out, and I don't know who out in the audience watches the WWE, but it was that same sort of moment when the Ultimate Warrior came running down to save Hulk Hogan. It was just like that, oh my goodness, that's Herman's entrance music. It was just, it was so cool.
Yeah, I think it really captures the first spirit of working together. And there was so much expertise across all the different teams, and they all brought their expertise to build Herman's robot, and he had some ideas too. So it was really a fun experience.
And then he ended up getting the Judges Award for his perseverance. And I don't think anyone was more proud of, like, it was almost like we were winning the award along with him.
Yeah, and they almost got to the semis. Like it was close. I'm just like looking at the scores right here. They're up on the Blue Alliance. That thanks to First Canada for posting the info on Team 4625. They're now known as the Trappers. But like the second match, they were within 19 points. Like they almost pulled it out. It was just like, you hear people try and explain gracious professionalism and what it is, but like this was seeing it in action. And I guess at this point, Laura and Ankita, how long have you been doing First?
Okay, so that was 2013 and I was in grade 11, so 5 years. That was my fifth year.
Okay, so you'd been around for a while, Laura as well, I guess.
Yeah, both of us started in 2007 with FLL. So
I think it was really neat for the veterans like us who'd been around, like to kind of get your gracious professionalism refreshed. But then this was an event and it was almost all rookies. Like the First was brand new to the Calgary area, and just there was and this was their introduction to First. And if you want to talk about setting the tone and setting the culture, like this is just fabulous. It was just super cool. Emily, you're hearing this for the first time now. Do you have any questions on this? Like,
I'm just like blown away. I can't even think like because this story just sounds like exactly what First is about. Gracious professionalism, just helping each other out. Like it's crazy. Like how did it feel for you guys to be able to like experience that? And
it was definitely super exhilarating. It's also, it wasn't just about rebuilding the robot. It was just little things like the fact that 1305 pitched in to get him team shirts. They weren't truly team shirts, but it connected everyone and making a pit banner. And basically he didn't even have a team name at that point. So trying to create a name that all of us could sort of unite under.
We were calling him Team Herman at that point on the microphone because we asked him. He's like, I don't have it. Just, well, you're Herman, and it was just I just know on the volunteer side we were just so enthralled by it. Where there was a bunch of veteran volunteers who came up from Ontario as well for this event, and a lot of us were like doing new roles at this event that we hadn't used to do because there were just like a lot of gaps to fill. But a lot of us just kind of were like, okay, well, I guess we're helping Herman right now, and we're wiring there. But there was so many cool things that also happened at this event. I remember Team 1334 had set up a station just for building bumpers for all these rookies who had never even had the concept of what bumpers were. And Team 4001 was there, and they were going around. It was just, I don't know, that Calgary event was just really special. I have not had a chance to be back to Calgary since for an event, but I'd love to see what's going on there right now. And if anyone in the chat's from Calgary, tell us what it's like at the events. I've heard that they're amazing and bigger and cool, but it was just it was really, really special, and it was cool. What was Herman's reaction at all of this when it was all said and done?
I think he was just extremely grateful for all the First community and the help he was able to receive. But even more so, he was like fueled up and ready to go for next build season, I think. And he just wanted to absorb as much as possible so he could bring it back and make his team succeed the following year.
Yeah, it was it was a spectacle to see, and I'm glad that our audience, this is kind of resonating with our audience, because it's one of those ones where it's almost hard to believe,
Yeah.
And I think this is what the power of storytelling is that you could look at the Blue Alliance website and just kind of read through this and you would never have any idea, but it's like these stories, these human connections, that really what makes this program like so special and so amazing. Speaking of human connections, what are you two up to? Like, what's been your journey? Because you've gone, and I think it's really cool that we have alums now who are repping internationally. So we'll start with Laura. What have you been up to since you graduated?
So I have first really sparked my interest in robotics, and everything I've done since then has sort of just been in pursuit of robotics. And so I did my undergrad in mechanical engineering and computer science at Cornell University in New York. And then I went on to do grad school as well in robotics at Stanford University. And in a few weeks, I actually am starting as a roboticist at Boston Dynamics.
Congratulations, like the Boston Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics.
All right, Laura, you have one job. You have to make sure those robots don't take over the world. You've got to put the good in them, okay? Well, or at least if they're going to take over the world, have them spare Emily and I, please. Just be like, yeah, they hosted a show I was on. They're good. Save them.
Not them.
Exactly. What about you, Ankita?
So I studied electrical engineering at Caltech for my undergrad, and then I went on to do a master's in electrical engineering at ETH Zurich, and right now I'm finishing my master thesis at IBM Research here. So it's been exciting.
Wow. What's your thesis on?
So it's on implementing a neural network in hardware. So I'm actually working on integrated photonics computing. So yeah, it's a very like far-fetched idea right now, but the proof
is that similar to quantum computing?
So we don't use quantum computing in our architecture, but there's other teams at IBM who are working on that too.
Sweet.
So your stories sound absolutely amazing. Do you have any advice for students that are watching this right now?
I think my advice would definitely be, it's definitely about building the robot, but take advantage of all the non-technical skills that you gain from it as well. Like things that I didn't think that would help me so much, especially in college and going onwards. For example, things like team leadership. Because I was with Ankita co-captain when we were both on the team, and then I went on to college and I did underwater robotics in college, and they instantly were like, wow, she knows how to run a team, and they just started handing off sections of the team for me. So it was just crazy that like things like little things that you don't think about, like the fact that there's so many leadership opportunities in first that are so transferable, and little things as well, like writing the chairman's essay. Those things are just sort of something you have to do now, but they are going to give you such an advantage, especially if you're studying engineering in college, because writing reports and giving it a twist that most engineers don't really know how to write a good essay, it really puts you over the edge.
Yeah, I think I would definitely have to agree with what Laura said. There's so many different opportunities that you can get involved with in first, and they're all extremely valuable.
Another question that I have, and I guess before I even get to that question, the comment there, and I think it's really important for our audience to see, is like when you look at Laura and Ankita, they are two, like Laura's working at like one of the coolest robotics companies in the world, Boston Dynamics, and Ankita's doing engineering research in photonics. So that's as technical as you can get. But they're saying your advice was that the non-technical side is important too. And I think so often you have these teams where it's like there's the technical and the non-technical, and they think that they don't relate at all. But both sides of skills are super important and super valuable. I think it's really cool to hear, like the proof is like these are like two of the most successful alums you'll find, and they're saying that. So like to our students who are watching this, the non-technical side is important too. Focus on that. And I guess the other thing that's really cool is that we've talked about this a few times on the show about how so much of learning happens in the reflection period after the fact. And I think that's where you can really see the value of these sorts of things. I want to ask a question because I know right now, I believe starting tomorrow, Dean's List interviews are going to be going back on for our students. I think, Emily, you have an interview coming up, I'm assuming.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Do you have, Laura and Ankita, you both are Dean's List finalists. Do you have any advice for our students who are going to be interviewing for this award coming up?
I guess my advice is don't be too nervous. I was quite nervous back in the day. I know it's always hard to stay calm, but you were nominated by your team for a reason. So really make sure that you're proud of what you've achieved and you can communicate the good work that you've put in.
Yeah, to go along with that, you were nominated for a reason. So just take a breath and be yourself. You have a passion that the judges want to see. So just really let that come across and don't let your enthusiasm be curbed in any way. Just show that.
Yeah, that's advice that like I'm taking to the heart because I have mine coming up soon and it's super nerve-wracking. Who's really inspired you about like who's one person that's really inspired you?
I can't necessarily say that there's been one person in my life, but I think just the environments that I've been able to be a part of, like at first and throughout college, just meeting all these very smart and capable people, it always inspires me to achieve my best and to continue working towards a goal, I guess.
Yeah. For me, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a person, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I remember when I was in grade 8 and my mentor showed me the video of the Boston Dynamics quadruped robot, and that was when I was just like, every year when Boston Dynamics released a new video, I was like, that is what I want to do. So it's always been like, I can make a career out of this, and that's always what has pushed me over the past few years.
I think that's so great to see because I think it's easy to get lost in goals. And I think sometimes when you have such a big goal, it can seem so far away. But like to our students who are watching, these dreams can come true and you can make them come true. You just have to kind of believe in yourself the way that Laura did. Like, you had a goal and you made it happen. And that's so awesome to see. It was mentioned in chat by, well, your sister saying that, this is something you've wanted since middle school and now it's happening. So I through all of this, and you talked about some of the skills that you've learned in FIRST, has there been like specific examples either through your schooling or through your careers where FIRST has really been like, oh, I can directly apply this? Do you have something like that, or is it more of a broader sense?
Something that definitely was directly applicable for me was, so going back to what I mentioned, the chairman's essay, I remember every year with Ankita writing the chairman's essay. And once I got to university, I joined the underwater robotics team there. And the team at Cornell was always really good technically, but they always fell short on the essay side and the static judging. And once I got onto the team, I was like, why do we always come last in this? So I sat down one year and I was like, I'm just gonna write the essay. And miraculously, that was the year that we won static judging. And I was just like, wow, if this was literally just writing a chairman's essay, but for a different competition. And it's just little things that it's FIRST really prepares you in little ways that you don't even imagine.
I guess, oh, sorry.
Please, Ankita, no.
Just quickly, the outreach side was also applicable to me as well. In college, I joined this group called RoboGals, and we basically developed curriculum to teach Lego at schools in the greater Los Angeles area. And I guess definitely my experience working with Lego robots was really helpful for that.
First of all, it's fantastic that you were keeping that same spirit of outreach and that same energy up. We are running down on time here, but I want to know, do the two of you have any questions for Emily?
What are you most looking forward to in your post-FIRST career?
Oh, that's a scary thought. I want to keep going with FIRST. Like, I just want to keep volunteering, and yeah, I just want to keep continuing where I am. It's hard. It's scary to think about the future. But yeah, that's as far as I've got.
Hey, Emily, what volunteer role? If you could have any volunteer role, what would it be?
That's hard. So I've queued before, which is a lot of fun. I like. I kind of want to try emceeing.
I think I know someone who could make that happen.
Yeah.
I think I do.
Yeah, I think emceeing maybe.
Well, there's plenty of opportunities out there, and I think Laura and Ankita have shown, if you want an opportunity, you just got to go for it. You just got to grab for it. Speaking of that, you've obviously done cool internships and have cool jobs. Any advice for our students about how to snag those top internships?
I think definitely, oh, go ahead, Laura.
Go ahead, Ankita.
Oh, like definitely apply and get your resume out there as much as possible. It's all about numbers, I think, for internships. So you don't get disheartened if you get rejected, because we've all been rejected quite a few times when it comes to internships, and one will come through.
My advice would be to have a portfolio going into all your interviews. I still have at the back of my portfolio all my first CADs and everything. Just put together everything that you want to show, pull up some videos of first, they will be impressed.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, because I don't think a lot of people don't realize the importance of having that sort of portfolio, but like first students are set up so well because they've done all the cool, you've done the hard stuff. Like sometimes I talk to kids who are getting ready for interviews and such, and I suggest bringing a portfolio, and they're scrambling to do things to put in a portfolio. You've done the hard stuff. You've created robots that have 11-ball autonomous modes. You show them that, but like document, get it in there, bring a tablet in with video, hit the play button, treat it like you would a chairman's interview, bring in the supporting materials, overwhelm them, hit them hard. This has been a really great segment, from the Herman story to hearing your stories. I think it's cool because we've had a lot of alumni who are still like closely involved and like still around in the area. It was cool to have two people who are out in the wild doing amazing things. We'd love it if, when you have a chance, if you're back in Ontario, March, April next year, volunteer at an event. We would love to have you two. I think you two would be great judges at this point to be able to talk to students and share your experiences like you have been here. Emily, do you have any final words for Laura and Ankita?
I just want to say that I'm super inspired right now, because when my Dean's List thing is coming up and hearing it's going to be a video call and not in person is super scary. So you've inspired me a lot. So thank you. And I'm sure you've inspired a lot of the other people who are doing their Dean's List interviews coming up too. So yeah, thank you a lot.
Well,
good luck, Emily.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much to Laura and Ankita. And before we get ready for our next segment, let's take a look at this video from one of our event hosts, Carleton University. And we are back, and I can't wait till we finally get to Carleton University for an event next year. It's gonna be really special. That story time was really fun, Emily. You want to do it again?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Well, let's bring out another First Dean's List finalist and an alum of Team 1360, and you would have seen her on the microphone at the Humber College District event just a couple of weeks ago. Welcome, Celeste Nantel.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here,
I was
Celeste.
watching that Carleton video and I was like, because I was supposed to be there too.
That was going to be your first event as the primary game announcer.
Yeah, I know, it was my debut, but so close. I was ready. I was packing my stuff to go to Ottawa, and then I got the email. It was too bad.
That was it was a rough weekend for all of us. I had my bag ready. I was about to like hop on the subway to head down to Ryerson, and I'm sure Emily, you had just packed up a trailer at that point.
We were literally packing up our trailer, and then we get the post and we're all just like, what?
Well, we could commiserate on all of that, or we could just tell some fun stories right now. So I think let's do the fun stories. Celeste, please tell us about your journey from where it began to Dean's List finalist to where you are now.
Sure. So my journey actually started back in 2008 for first Overdrive.
Overdrive.
I
How old were
remember.
you at that point, Celeste? Not to give away your age, but like approximately.
I was 7.
Okay.
Yes. And it was because my dad became a judge for FRC. And he brought my brother and I to the Hershey Center back when it was the only first robotics competition in Ontario, and saw the robots. And then I guess I was hooked. And I remember that year, like my dad being like, look, there's team 1114. And then like later him being like, oh, and they just won worlds. And I remember that like as a kid. And then I went back every year and I know the teams, I know the branding by then. And the only year I think I missed was 2014. And then in grade 9, so 2015, I actually didn't go straight into robotics. I was doing a lot more sports. But then the swim season ended and I was like, I guess I'll join the team at school, which was 1334. And, jumped right into building stuff and getting my hands dirty, and ended up being the human player. So I was throwing noodles, which was by far the coolest human player job to date. Just saying, noodles take a lot of skill.
This is debatable, but we're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it at this point.
And and then I ended up transitioning to being a founding member of Team 1360, which is a community robotics team in Oakville. And then started learning CAD, designing our first robot as a team. And then grade 11 was Dean's List, all that stuff. I was team captain, taking on more leadership positions and stuff. And then grade 12, it was more drive coach and advising and training other kids for Dean's List interviews. And then I went to school at McGill for mechanical engineering. And I am here in second year.
Very nice. You mentioned you coming to the Hershey Center in 2008 and then watching that 1114 robot, and then your dad telling you that 1114 had won worlds. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but your dad emailed me right after we won worlds and said, this robot is so amazing. My daughter loves it. I want to sponsor your team.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, I'm gonna
give you money.
He was just so pumped that you were so excited about it. And then this is when your dad, where was he working at? It was the Ontario Centers of Excellence.
Yeah. And they were
and so sponsor. They brought us in to do a big demo for them after we'd won worlds at the Metro Toronto Convention Center, and they supported us. So that was just like such a cool thing to think that little girl who helped us get that sponsorship is now like one of our game announcers and doing awesome things. So
system works,
Yeah. So speaking of all these awesome things you've done, is there like one cool story you want to share with us? Like, I know like there's so much you could talk about, like your Dean's List experience or like the tours you gave at championship, but what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, that derails my plan of what I wanted to say. But okay.
We got time for multiple stories.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll do 2 short ones. But I'd say one of the ones I thought of before when I was just reading the script of what I was gonna say for my like cool story was a long time ago, actually. When I was on 1334, we qualified to go to Worlds as a wild card. I think from Waterloo, but we had a teacher strike, and so we couldn't go. We couldn't take our robot. But then I happened to be sitting at the right place in the right time for all the older kids to be talking about how we should just go down to championships by ourselves. And because of that, I just got like swooped into this plan, and we would meet up at people's houses of kids I didn't even know before this started. But then I became really close to these kids, and we planned this whole trip. We planned the flights, everything. And we just went down to St. Louis, and we're there as spectators technically, but that totally pivoted the game. I was just doing robotics part-time before that, and then it became like, oh, like now I want to do robotics like full-time. And so going to that championships totally changed everything.
Which year was this
for me?
Was it Recycle Rush?
This was Recycle Rush.
Okay,
yeah.
So still the noodles, yeah.
Still the noodles, yeah. And seeing all the teams I'd seen that season at champs, and seeing all these like really cool international teams that I hadn't seen in real life before. And then at the end of the third night, we were all eating pizza. It was like 3 a.m. on the floor of the hallway in our hotel room. And there was some random team from the United States down the hall that we were talking with too, just like, having a great time. And we were like, what if we started our own team? and that's how 1360 was born. That was the first time I heard about making a community team, was sitting in that hallway eating that pizza at 3 a.m. And the momentum kept going, and the people that needed to get involved got involved, and then it became a team.
That sounds like a true first kid story in a hotel on the ground eating pizza. That sounds like true first kid story.
I love that story from the perspective of everyone except for the people who were trying to sleep in their hotel rooms.
That's true. We're probably yelling
you can throw an okay boomer at me for that.
Yeah, it's okay. You're old.
Thanks.
What would you say your proudest moment is?
I'd probably say, I can't say winning Dean's List because that's too self-assessed, but I can say in 2018, I was in grade 12, we won chairman's, and I think it was just really threw me off because I wasn't expecting it. And I also wasn't really working on that. It was like a side thing going on. And I was more, focused on getting us to win on the field. And which
you did at that same event.
Sorry?
Which you did at that same event.
Yeah, so we'd won Jordan that year, and then we won York. So my job was kind of done, like I was chilling. And then we won chairman's, and I was like, it's too much going on. There's too much cling bling. So that was kind of awesome, because it was like, especially for a part of the team that doesn't get a whole lot of recognition, our chairman's team, because it's like really new. They got their moment to be the MVPs. So that was awesome.
I love it when because a lot of times you keep talking about this on the show, like, there's different segments of the team, but I love to see the pride that one segment will have when the other segment does really well at something. I know back on 11-14, I still look back at the pictures of when we got into the Hall of Fame and seeing some of our like gruffest mechanical mentors who spent no time doing any chairman stuff, seeing them crying, it's just like, wow, this was like, just like seeing that whole sort of impact, which is very similar to your story. So you've talked about your first journey, but and you've mentioned that you're at McGill. Mm-hmm. What's it like at McGill? What brought you to McGill, and what else are you doing there aside from the time you spent volunteering for First?
For sure. So I chose McGill because I wanted to live in Montreal, so that was pretty easy choice. And I, heard good things. So I just kind of got on board and went with it. And it's cool. It's definitely separate from the Ontario system. I feel like all the Ontario engineering schools kind of like know each other-ish. Meanwhile, McGill is like kind of a different situation. We don't really have the same traditions and stuff like that. But it's also cool because it means you get to find what you want to do, and it's not all just like school pride, rah, rah, rah. There's a lot of like diversity of stuff you can be passionate about. And what I actually did a lot of like student society stuff, which was totally different than what I'd done before, because I didn't really do like student council in high school. But doing that helped me meet a lot of people that were in older years, which really helped me with like course selection and profs and like internship opportunities and stuff like that. So highly recommend that to anyone that's thinking about what they want to do in first year. And I got on the internship truck like pretty early. So before going into first year, I was a research intern at Sunnybrook Hospital in Toronto, working on focus ultrasound and the medical applications of that. So that was really cool. That was my first time working a real people job. I definitely got that job because I did First. And getting that job definitely helped me get, my one after first year at Geotab in Oakville. They're pretty cool. And I did embedded systems development there. And that was a lot of fun because it was software, which I'm not in school for. I'd only done computer science in high school, but I, packaged up all that knowledge in my first, gotta learn it mentality, and Googled my way through and learned a bunch of stuff, learned a bunch of new languages, developed products, stuff like that. And this coming summer, I'm working for a robotics startup in Montreal doing haptic sensors. So that's like stuff like peripherals for VR video games, or training solutions for surgeons, so that you know how hard to press when you're cutting someone, stuff like that. So working on those robotics and those sensors. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. For other students watching this, like myself, what kind of advice would you give them?
I'd say like get on the internship truck early, because it's not gonna like be a bad thing. You know, you're definitely gonna benefit from that. You know, whether it's just like there's always opportunities out there. You just have to find them. And all that helps build your portfolio, build your resume, which makes it a lot easier in older years when you want to do other stuff. You have a lot more selection, which is my main thing. I was like, even if like I took a job in software in my first year, because I was like, let's do it. Let's learn something. And now I'm like, oh, I actually want to do software. So I have another job that's more mechatronics, and I'm trying to do a software minor. So doing jobs not only build your resume and your portfolio, but also you figure out what you want to do, especially mechanical engineering, because it's so broad. Having real world, like, you know, facing up with the real world of what you could do with your degree or what's out there in engineering really helps, because you're kind of like in a bubble in university where it's very theoretical.
Yeah, myself, I want to go into mechanical engineering, and that's like really useful for me because mechanical engineering it's really broad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You talked about your experience at Geotab, and you know, we've talked about this directly before, where you were very independent on a project. But it really drew upon your FRC experiences. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I was thrown right in the deep end for Geotab because my manager was a field engineer. So he was always traveling and, you know, doing cool stuff out in around the world. So I was kind of put with a moonshot project, which is an idea that you have to see if it's feasible. And so I was mostly doing a lot of, you know, Googling online, trying to find other people that had done similar projects and applying that. And it was totally something I hadn't done before, trying to build something through code that I didn't already know how to do. Because, I mean, personally, I try to not do stuff I know I might not do well at, because, you know, risk. But I was like given permission to, you know, make mistakes and figure it out. And that was a great atmosphere and a great environment, because I learned all these algorithms. I like designed stuff in code that I would not have been able to do unless I had, you know, like being pushed to do it, or like had the freedom to be able to do that. And I think it was a great turning point for also my like work ethic going into internships, because now if I think, hey, that might be hard, like, I don't know if I can do that. It's like, we'll just Google our way out of it. You know, like we've done it before, we can do it again. And I feel like that's a lot of a better mindset than, oh, I can't do that because, you know, I'm not sure if I can do it perfectly. So it was a really good experience, not just for, you know, learning technical skills, but also for changing my mindset of how I approach projects.
Hey, Celeste, I do want to interrupt you here because we have a comment from chat. It's from M. Nantel.
Oh.
Celeste's dad's here. First is certainly one of the best investments of my time I've ever made. I'm having fun supporting the STEM cause and have 2 kids in or entering mechanical engineering programs. The system does indeed work. I thought I'd just share that message from a proud dad right there, because I thought that's pretty cool. What's it like having FIRST be such a part of your family?
It means that at the dinner table, well, also my brother and I are in different teams, which is a bit of a unique situation, because my brother is on 1334, my past team. And so often we'll be like talking about competitions and be like, yes, but, you know, like, but we're going to win, you know, and it's just like, just like normal inter-team, you know, dispute, or it's like, let me see your Chamberlain's video. And he's like, no, you're going to judge it. Or like, you know, stuff like that. Just looking at what each other's doing, or like trying to get sneak peeks of other people's robots while we're all trying to be secretive, or closing your laptop really fast because there's a cat on it. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And it also means, I mean, everybody knows what's going on. And it's probably, as a family, we attend most of the events in Ontario just because, you know, I go to 2 events, Freddie goes to 2 events, my dad might go to another 2 events. And then we might also all go to provincials. And so we cover it all, which is pretty cool. And plus my brother went through FLL too. So he got both of the programs, and my mom might've mentored his robotics team. So everybody's involved somehow. I mean, it's definitely the reason I'm in engineering. I would have not have thought about engineering if I didn't do first, because you don't really get taught that in school.
So how do we get the other Dr. Nantel, your mom, out to an event as a volunteer?
I know, we have to get her out. Well, we need to make the events a little bit less loud. They're really loud.
That's true. We can get her ear protection, though. We can come up with something like that. Your dad is trying to trash talk college football with me right now in the chat, and I'm just not. Mark,
oh,
it's
you're not
not
gonna
happening.
That?
I'm just saying, like, it's just not even happening, Mark. It's not even a comparison at this point. You guys go play Michigan State while we go play like the Clemsons and the Bamas of the world. So, you know, you're at McGill now, but you still found a way to stay involved as a volunteer. Emily earlier mentioned that, you know, she'd love to get into the world of like emceeing, game announcing. Do you have any advice for our students out there who might want to try and get involved in this world as someone who's been able to break in at such a young age?
Yeah, so I actually don't really know what the system is now for, like, you know, coming in as a fresh you know, GA, fresh MC, someone that's interested, how to try it out. So I mean, you'd have to advise us on what the proper protocol for that is, Karthik, but I definitely enjoy it. I mean, for me, it's just an extension of performing. I did musical theater in high school, choirs and stuff like that. So now this is how I perform is GAing, and it uses that part of my brain. And also it keeps you around the volunteer family, keeps you in the community. You know, you still know what's going on. You know the new games, you see the new robots. It's, you know, it's not like in high school when it's full time, but it's still a way to keep in touch with, you know, who raised you. And I definitely recommend, even if it's not in MC or in GA, there's lots of positions that you can work your way, you can, you know, put in the work and work your way up to being a key volunteer. And then you know, you get a lot of good feeling for doing an event, and everybody has a great time and the kids get to compete and all that. It's kind of like you're able to switch, and you still get that good first feeling.
Yeah, in terms of what you were saying about how to break in, the first thing that I recommend is find a local FLL event or an FTC event and volunteer there. So, you know, we can see, you can get into your comfort zone, kind of discover what it's like. Like Celeste said, we love people who have a performance background. So, you know, do plays in high school, do that sort of, so you can just get used to public speaking, and then find me or find a First Canada staff member, let them know you're interested, and we will see what we can do and going from there. How were you able to do so much in high school, Celeste? Like, how could you like balance being a driving member of your FRC team, getting the grades you did to get yourself into McGill, but also doing things like theater?
I wish I knew so that I could apply whatever I was doing back then to what I'm doing now. Because suddenly when you get into university, you can't handle taking like 3 courses when you were taking so many in high school. I think it was more like when you're doing stuff, you're able to do more stuff because you realized, all right, if I want to do this, I've got to do this. So you actually, like, you know, get off your phone and go do your homework, because you only have until 5 p.m. before robotics starts at 6, you know, stuff like that. And you get into, I guess, like, you really get into a routine of what you need to get done. And as long as you kind of know what's coming, you know, this is when my meetings are, this is when I have these shows, or this is when I have these competitions, and you're all able to visualize that on a calendar, it kind of works out. I guess just like, you got to like organize your way out of a hole is how I think of it. You can always plan your way out of a situation. And I mean, I had, you know, great teachers. Like, my school was very academic, so it wasn't that difficult to just do the work. I didn't have to do other stuff. So I was quite lucky to be in a good high school. But I mean, it's all about figuring it out. So like, it also depends on what your team has for, because exam season for some high schools is during build season. So I experienced that. And it is a weird time, especially because it's week 4 or something, where it's like you have to be chop and getting that drivetrain and the top assemblies done. So I guess it's a correlation of what you're doing, how the team is acting to support their students, and how your school is for making it easy to be able to get the work done and learn everything and succeed.
Mm-hmm. As you've inspired me and probably other students who are watching this right now, who's really inspired you?
I saw that question a week ago and I looked at the script and I was like, ooh, I need to think of something that's not like Elon Musk, which is what came to mind. I mean, there's a lot of people that, I think it's important to not have just one person that inspires you and to take the little bits and pieces that work for you out of a lot of stories and a lot of experiences, which is something that I say a lot in my, I do like talks and stuff for first year students on how to get internships, or like high school students on their university applications and stuff like that. It's like, you always have to take everything with a grain of salt, take what works for you, and digest it and move on, and then you're able to create your best like unique goal and unique experience. So I mean, there's definitely been some people that are being awesome at managing their time, and I'm like, oh, I gotta figure out how to do that. Or people that are great at learning stuff on their own. They're like, you know what, I'm gonna learn how to do web dev, and they will learn how to do web dev, and I'm like, oh, that takes a lot of like oomph. And that's something I wish I had more. And then I'm able to, appreciate that and be inspired by that from a person. So I guess there's a bunch of different tidbits that I take from a bunch of stuff, or just seeing how some people interact with their team and their positive energy and how they get everybody involved. That's something that I've always admired, and seeing other students and other leads in robotics, how well they do that.
Celeste, having you on the show, it just kind of blows me away. Like, your wisdom is just like not the wisdom of a second year university student. You're like miles ahead there, dropping like this great advice and all of that. So thank you for that. We are coming down on time. We have a little bit of time here, so we're gonna change things up a little bit. You're in Montreal right now. You haven't been able to come home. So how is quarantine life treating you, and what's been like your guilty pleasure? And all this. I know you're super busy with school, but
it's Fortnite. I can tell you that right now.
All right. Okay.
So I had never played Fortnite before quarantine. I probably made fun of kids that played Fortnite.
You definitely would have.
But that game is so good. So yeah, I've really been into Fortnite. I like exploring and finding all the chests and stuff. That's probably my favorite part. Instead of, like shooting people, I freak out. But so definitely Fortnite, making food. We've started making burritos and stuff like that, because I have actually never been into cooking. But it's forcing me to get into cooking. And I'm just hoping I can, pivot the Fortnite into learning things like web dev, or perhaps my classes concept. Especially with because McGill was actually fully off for 2 weeks. Right. Unlike a lot of other universities that transitioned pretty quickly to online, I had no new material, no assignments for 2 weeks. So I was straight chilling. And now I got to get back into it. So that's going to be a difficult transition. But deliverables, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So yeah, I've got to, get more back to the painful stuff now.
I love that, like, action item oriented Celeste, like, pivoted for a second to like recreation, then it's like, nope, back to getting stuff done, even within the concept of your answers, which is like so classically you. Do you have any questions for Emily?
Emily, you've got to take Karthik's job. You're already on, you've hosted twice.
Yeah,
she's doing a pretty good job. I could let her do the rest of the show. I can go I can go hang out with parts of the chat.
You've got the right head. You've got the headset.
Yeah, you just gotta...
almost graduated.
Still got another year, but yeah.
You're on your way out, Karthik.
Yeah.
Totally. That's the whole goal when you get involved with a program like this, is to obsolete yourself and have someone just kind of take, like, I think like that's basically what I've done with 1114. I don't do anything there anymore. There's other people to handle that, run that show. So this is really good right now. So I'm all about this. Another comment from chat when we asked about your biggest inspiration, M. Nantel said, "This is where you say my dad."
Oh, right.
I think from now on we should always have like all our guests and co-hosts dads in the chat. I think this is a pretty sweet dynamic.
Yeah, we're getting.
I vote no to that.
We're getting hollered at from the peanut gallery.
Right, you know. Final question for you, Celeste. Not necessarily a question. Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience right now before you go? You've given some great advice. Anything else you want to know? Questions for them? Comments?
I guess, keep trucking. This is a brave new world is coming. I expect the post-quarantine world is not going to be the same as the pre-quarantine world. So I guess take that all in stride and try to learn something new and come out hot and riled up and ready to go. That's kind of advice to myself because I need to go use this time more wisely. But as long as we all learn one new thing during quarantine, we're going to come out, in a slightly better world.
Again, dropping the nuggets, dropping the wisdom right there.
Yeah. It's because first gave me gray hairs. That's why I'm old.
Well, at least you have hair. And will you have any final words for Celeste?
Well, thank you. Your advice is very inspiring, I can say for myself. Sorry, I'm still laughing over the Karthik comment.
Maybe it'll come back, Karthik. You never know.
Yeah.
Maybe,
If we wish hard enough.
That.
But anyhow, thank you a lot. You really inspired me, and I'm sure others in the chat. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Celeste. This was amazing. Thanks to all the questions in chat. And Celeste, maybe you want to go chat with your dad in chat after we're done here. But this was a great segment. These were two great story times. We're going to come back with a couple robot showcases. But before we do that, let's take a look at another video from Carleton University.
We believe a place can change your life. An established university with proud scholars, chairs, and award holders, where students are prepared for real-world jobs to critically think and change the world. With unique programs you won't find anywhere else, a place that values collaboration as much as competition, with national varsity sports teams, and home to Canada's 11-time CIS champion men's basketball team. With over 1,000 research projects underway, more than $55 million in sponsored funding, and over $42 million in scholarships and bursaries awarded to undergraduates and graduates alike. A place like no other. Carleton University, Canada's capital university.
Welcome back, everyone. Story time was a lot of fun, but I think it's time for some robots. Emily, you want to see some robots?
Oh, yeah.
We've got a special double feature coming up right now because we've got a team showcase with Team 77 who?
772.
There we go. Along with their FTC team, Team 16183, but they are the Sabre Bytes from LaSalle, Ontario. They've been doing first since 2002. Winners of 7 blue banners, including the 2019 Ontario Provincial Championship Chairman's Award. And their FTC team competed at the first Ontario Provincial Championship for FTC this January over on the College of Durham campus. So welcome from Team 772. We have Emily, Sean, Kevin, and Levi.
Hello.
Hello, Emily. Hey, Sean. And everyone else is popping up. Levi in the dark. Levi in the light now. And we're just waiting for the camera to turn on.
Oh,
but Kevin doesn't have a camera, that's right. So he's just going to be speaking from above. Thank you all for being here. I'm really excited to hear about both your FRC robot, your FTC robot, and everything else that 772-16183 does. So take it away.
Thank you. So we're speaking on behalf of both FTC team 16183 Club Sandwich and 772 the Sabre Bytes, Karthik mentioned. We work out of Sandwich Secondary School in LaSalle, Ontario. And as our 772 team has been along for a really long time, they just started Club Sandwich this year to compete in the very first FTC competition in Ontario, which was honestly an amazing experience, and I'm glad to have been a part of that. Do we have the PowerPoint?
Here it comes.
Alrighty. Now our team consists only of grade 9s and 10s because we wanted our younger students to be able to have that stepping stone between FLL and FRC, since a lot of the new members have a hard time adjusting to FRC because it can have a steep learning curve. By being able to compete in FTC, a lot of these students are engaged way earlier in their robotics pathway, and they end up enjoying it a lot more because they have an easier understanding by the time they get into the FRC program. We found that gives a lot of opportunities to our younger students.
Our goal was to deliver the stones. We realized we had to be fast and maneuverable. In our auto, we wanted to pick up and deliver the sky stones, move the foundation, and park. We called our robot Slide Salad. If you can go to the next slide.
Can I just pause you for a second? Is your capstone a sandwich?
Yes.
That's awesome.
We called our robot Slide Salad. On it, we had 2 color sensors, one for seeing the tape lines and one for differentiating between the sky stones and the regular stones. We also had a distance sensor to increase our accuracy for picking up the stones. And we used an arm to manipulate the stones, as well as mecanum wheels to make ourselves more maneuverable.
Sean, I just want to stop you for 1 second, just because a lot of our audience is more FRC focused. So can you explain the stones that you're talking about, the sky stones and what that all is?
So the sky stones were one of the game pieces, as well as the stones. So the sky stones had like a higher point value, I think, like during the auto, versus like the regular stones had a slightly less value for points.
Yeah, the sky stones had a sticker on them, which
yeah,
could be tracked via sensors or camera or whatever. And so if you could score those in the auto period, you got a little bit of a bonus.
Yeah.
So the sky stone's actually that yellow brick that everyone's looking at on the screen right now in the robot.
So initially, when we were building our robot, we were struggling with our accuracy for picking up the cubes, but throughout the build season, we managed to solve that problem, also the problem of our robot not really being very maneuverable. And we made our robot more efficient at, actually moving cubes and all that, and playing the game properly. And our speed allowed us to deliver more stones than our partner could stack at the competition during the finals. So we actually ended up beginning to stack as well.
All right, for our arm, we used a servo to open and close it, and the off-centered connection allowed for elliptical movement to enhance in the grabbing of sky stones. And on the arm itself, we had some gripping material to enhance in the gripping capability of the sky stones. We have a video here. If you could play it, please. Of course, it has an error. All right, next slide, please. All right, for our auto modes, we had 4 of them. We had the Sky Stones mode, which was used for collecting sky stones. We had the Foundation mode to move the foundation, the Simple Park mode, and the Rest mode. For the Sky Stone Auto, we used all of our sensors. Our color sensor differentiated the sky stones from the regular stones, and it's our most used mode. We have a video here to demonstrate its usage.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So on the slide right now, you've got a little bit of a flow chart of your code. Did you develop the flow chart in advance before coding it, or was this more of an after the fact for this presentation?
I'm not sure if it was before or after. This was a little while ago, so my memory's a little hazy on that. I feel like it was made, or I think it was made after.
There's two copies made. The original one was not as accurate by the end of the process, since over time a lot of the program changed so we could make it more efficient and work for us better. So this specific copy was made after the fact to demonstrate how it ended up.
I saw advice for the aspiring programmers out there, especially when you're working on autonomous modes. Creating a chart like this before you start programming makes everything so much easier, because it's really intimidating to think about, like, yeah, I want an autonomous mode that's going to score 11 balls. But if you break it up into discrete segments, that allows you to share the workload with other programmers. And also it just gives you like a plan for what it has to do. And like basically all that programming is taking one big problem and chopping it down into smaller problems, And then eventually each little sliver that you have is a line of code. And it's really cool when you do it this way. So this is, even that you did this after the fact, it's such a valuable resource going forward.
All right, for the foundation auto, it was our second most used one, and we moved the foundation and then parked. We used one color sensor and one distance sensor to do this. For the simple park mode and the resting auto mode, for the simple park, we would wait 20 seconds and proceed to park on our alliance line, and we would only use the color sensor to do this. For the resting auto, which is our last resort, we would just stay stationary, and it would be only used if there were conflicts in the team's paths.
By the end of the competition, we were finalists for the robot game. This photo is actually us and our alliance partners during the award ceremony. We were also runner-ups to the Think and Controls Awards, so it was honestly an exciting event. I mean, we were so happy at the end of it to just been recognized for all the hard work we've put in, especially since this is our rookie year and most of us never really seen any of the competitions before for FTC, and none of us have ever partaken in it before, so it was a great experience. Okay, there we go.
So this year, our school board introduced the manufacturing technology course to our school, or the robotics course. So we had robotics classes for both grades 10s and 11s, and next year there are plans to expand the course to both grades 9s and 12s at our school. This was a program that took a really long time for our team to sort of convince our board the relevance of FIRST Robotics and the need for this course at our school. So after many years, it was really great that we finally got this course, running at our school. And so the grade 10 course focused a lot on FDC and the game this year, whereas like the grade 11 course focused more on FRC. And in both courses, the students really got to learn about CAD software and design, and sort of the fundamentals of actually CADing a robot and starting it from the ground up. We also learned a lot about prototyping and building the actual robot. So we worked on a lot of machining and assembly of like robots in various parts, so we could sort of learn the build process. And we also worked on a lot of strategy, sort of to strategize how the robots would be made and our plans for the game. And we also learned a lot about safety, because of course that's a really important thing in the world of robotics, to make sure everyone's being really safe. So yeah.
We have a lot of projects running through both our FTC and FRC program through our school, such as an Hour of Code event, which has been postponed to next year, but we're excited to get it set up. There's also our 7 robotics camps we're hoping to run sometime in the future. We've done them in the past at Girl Guides, events, and also the local library, but we're just excited to be able to run it at our school and be able to run it start to finish, whether it be summer camps or weekend camps. We also have a lot of resources that we are trying to offer to other teams, both in Canada and just anywhere people need them, such as our Business in a Box, which helps teams set up their business section and help get any resources that they may need to improve. We also have new scouting and safety sets, which Sean will be talking about in a couple minutes.
Just going back to your hour of code event, what's planned? What do you typically do with that?
There's this one website called code.org, which offers these hour of code events where it teaches young children how to code through the block programming. So we're hoping to run that through our schools so we can teach kids logic at a young age, so it just gets easier and easier as they grow older, and they can know the logic while they're still young and learning. We also have an FLL Without Borders program where we buy Lego kits and we'll send them out to different countries to establish first Lego League teams, or even just clubs that just learn the process. Some destinations we've sent it to before is Morocco, Peru, and Nunavut, and we continue to support these teams as much as we humanly can. Now Sean will be talking about the safety and scouting program.
So yeah, today I sort of want to talk about our 772 Sabre safety program, because safety, of course, is just a huge part of FIRST, and it's just such a huge part of our team. So this year we sort of had a few goals in mind of how we wanted to improve our program from previous years. So our primary goal was sort of to revamp our entire program to fit into the current world. So we really wanted our safety program to sort of reflect what was happening in the real world. So with this pandemic that's been happening and stuff, we wanted to make sure that everyone could, be as safe in regards to, sanitization and staying, healthy. So we also wanted to create an ever-evolving system throughout the season. So we wanted to sort of change our program as we went through from competition to competition, and sort of, learn from our mistakes from previous competitions and improve upon it, and educate everyone on our team and other teams of, the different safety practices that we were going through to make sure that, all competitions were as, safe and great as they possibly could be. We also work to expand our safety ideals outside of just the world of FIRST, and make sure that everyone, not only is coming and leaving FIRST robotics competitions as safely and as, unharmed as possible, but when they're at home, at work, or at school, we wanted to make sure that our team members were being as safe as possible with everything. So we had a few training courses on how they could be safe with fire and wind miss and stuff like that. We also started weekly safety meetings for our team members to sort of, educate them on different things we were introducing to our safety program. And we started social media safety outreach to other teams to sort of, show our safety program to other teams so they could, get some ideas from us, and, we could share everything to make sure everyone's being, as safe as possible. And we also worked towards improving our pits to make sure that, our pits were as efficient and as safe as they possibly could be. And so in the middle, we have sort of a timeline of our different projects we would roll out. So in our safety program, we, sort of split them up into sort of a basic program that we would improve upon throughout the entire season. And since we were planning to go to about 5 competitions, we wanted to make sure that each competition, our program would become as, as good as it possibly could be. And so, yeah, that's just sort of an example of how that was. So, yeah, can we go to the next slide? So this is our scouting and safety sets. So we have 2 different sets that we plan to give out to other teams, sort of to help them jumpstart their own scouting and safety teams, because these are 2 things, rookie teams might overlook when creating their first robotics team. So if they need help with resources or, planning and stuff like that, our team offers so primarily the Sabre scouting set, which is made to assist teams in starting their own scouting programs, and includes sort of manuals and examples of sheets for both the FDC season and FRC season that year. So they can either use our own sheets to make their own program, or they can just use our sheets to use them throughout the season. We also have the Sabre starter safety kit, which is sort of has instructions on how they can make their own safety team, and how examples on how they can make their own unique program. And it also includes some basic safety materials like fire extinguishers, battery spill kits, and it also has a sanitization set to make sure that everyone on their team at competitions is, staying sanitized and healthy and clean.
I just want to say I love that idea, because a lot of teams don't always have the safety stuff that they should have at events, and whenever people bring around little safety kits, it's always like I always think that's such a good idea and so useful. And yeah, so good job.
Thank you.
We also have our Environment First initiative. At the start of the year, we were incredibly inspired by the Youth Council's Project Green, and we wanted to be able to create our own action to help contribute to FIRST, the whole direction we're going in. So what we planned on doing through this initiative is collecting and recycling all the buttons that our team members have lying around, so we can help reduce the waste that these can leave behind when they end up in landfills and in the garbage. And we really just want to reduce the negative environmental impact that some parts of our program can cause.
Emily, you probably won't know, but any idea on how many buttons you ended up collecting?
We don't have an exact number, but I remember in our back room where we have our business section, we have like this bucket. It's about half full, as well as like multiple shopping bags just full of those buttons. And we're still in the process of collecting them from some of our team members. And we also have different ways to collect more on the next slide.
Can I just say that I love this idea? Because I was a big part of the Project Green. And we're always looking for more things that we can do. And you may have seen at some of the events we had stickers. And when we were thinking of doing the stickers, some of us wanted to do buttons. And the problem with buttons is that they're waste. Like we could be creating waste. And all these teams create buttons and they hand them out. And like I never even thought of like collecting them or recycling them. And that's great, amazing.
Yeah, it can be a tricky one to go and recycle, but we're lucky enough to have found an area near us willing to accept all of that, to use it as scrap metal.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
No, keep going.
Oh, it's all right. We have a challenge for all teams to collect as many old buttons from their team members as possible to hand them in to us next year to receive different prizes that we have. We're hoping you can use some of the free time that you have from robotics right now in isolation to do some spring cleaning, put them together so it's easier for your team to collect for next year. You can contact us with our email, which will be on the next slide, so we can set up a way for us to be able to collect this, and we can set this up together. And we also recommend all teams to start finding alternative items that you can start handing out in the pits that will have a lower environmental impact. Or even just something that can be reused with time, so you can reduce the carbon footprint that our program leaves behind.
This is such a good idea, because as much as like I think like button collecting is cool, realistically people might grab 100 buttons at an event and only keep 2 of them, and the rest just kind of go somewhere. I think it'd be so cool if like outside of 772's pit next year, if there's just like this giant box, and we can just, I think people need to see the sheer volume of stuff that's there. So this is a really cool initiative.
Yeah, I love this. I also love the hashtag environment first.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we came up with this idea because we noticed a lot of our team members were getting ready to throw out our buttons, and we're like, there's got to be a better way than throwing these out.
Well, I also think that your other comment about we should think about the giveaways that we're giving, because recycling is great, but reducing is what's most important, because recycling still takes energy. There's still going to be waste associated with it. Pretty much no recycling process is 100% efficient. So thinking of giveaways the teams can do where it's either something sustainable or just something that people are going to keep and get utility for afterwards. These are just great ideas. Thank you. This is cool.
Oh, thank you so much. We have an email on this page, which is in the blue writing. You can contact us if you're hoping to start handing in buttons, and we can communicate different ways that we can collect them. You can also email us if you're interested in our safety and scouting kits, or our business in a box. And for the next slide.
So this year our FRC robot was called Deadshot. So this is the reveal video right here. And then I'll go facts about it later.
seem to have a little bit of difficulty with the sound right now, but the video is still pretty awesome. The silent movie special here today. Sean, tell us everything about this robot, please.
So yeah, so our robot Deadshot is a trench bot, so it fits right underneath the trench. And so one cool thing we have with our robot is we have 2 different autonomous modes where we can shoot 6 power cells into the upper power ports, and we have a pretty good accuracy with about 90% with getting them in either of the 2 upper ports. So yeah, we can shoot our power cells into either of the upper ports, and we typically aim for the inner ports, of course, because that's the most amount of points we can get from it. And I'd say we're pretty good with getting it in there. Our robot can also climb anywhere along the generator switch, which is really useful because some teams, might have specific places they can only go. So it's really great to, be able to go anywhere. And yeah, we can also pick up balls from the power cells from both the ground, and we can also have them from the loading station, like pour into the top of the robot. So that's really great. Yeah, is there any questions about our robot this year?
Yeah. What drove the decision between a tall robot and a short robot for you? I know this is a question we've been asking a lot of our teams out there, and it was a big thing that a lot of people struggled with. So what was the driving factors for you?
So we really wanted to be able to get across the field as fast as possible. And so we wanted to make sure, because when you go underneath the trench, you're safe from, being hit by the other teams, because the other teams would get penalties if they go underneath your trench while you're also there. So we wanted to make sure we could get across the field as fast and as efficiently as possible to maximize our power cell scoring throughout the game.
Emily, do you have any questions for the robot? Well, I mean, for the guests, the robot's not going to answer the question.
Well, yeah. Unless it's like a talking robot, I've noticed a lot of Falcons on your robot. Did you switch completely over to Falcons this year, or?
For the most part, yeah, we used Falcons this year. They were just our mechanical team found they were.
How did your team find them? Like, did you think they were like compared to what you used to use?
Last year we used a lot of neo brushless motors, and I mean I wasn't directly involved necessarily with the construction of the robot. I'm more on safety and scouting. So, but from what I can understand, they just sort of saw the motors and they realized how useful they could be for our robots. So they decided to use them.
Yeah.
So your team had the opportunity to compete in Michigan this year. That's the first time that a Canadian team's competed in the Michigan district events since the district events have started there. What was that experience like, and how was it different than competing in Ontario, aside from like, hey, these are Americans?
It was a really fun event, honestly, and we got a lot of practice from it as well, because it was a week 1 event, and we haven't gone to any week 1 events in the past few years that I've been on the team, at least. So it was just a really cool experience to sort of see everyone sort of testing the robots out, and it was a much different sort of environment, because there's some different practices that American teams sort of do than Canadian teams, and it was interesting sort of to see the different sort of world of first in that region in Michigan, because I mean Ontario and Michigan, although they're playing the same game, they sort of treat it a bit differently, and it was really interesting just sort of to see how Michigan teams are and how they compete compared to Canadian teams.
What were some of those differences? I think a good part of our audience, because we've been in districts here, hasn't ever competed at an American event other than the championship. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on those differences.
I mean, just sort of like the whole environment there sort of just felt different. It's kind of hard to sort of explain. One thing I noticed was different is sort of like for alliance selection, they sort of have sort of like they were like bibs they would give to you for being the alliance captains there. And I never saw that during any of the Canadian events. So I found that kind of interesting to sort of see that they, sort of treat the event differently. And
yeah, we do the wristbands here. I know one of the big differences that people always talk about is that our teams always recognize their sponsors during alliance selection, while U.S. teams are just like, hey, team 67 picks team 217, just like bam, while we do the more formal sort of thing. So it's always neat to see different cultural differences. And I've noticed it's not necessarily just even like Ontario or Michigan, but sometimes you notice it from like Toronto area events to outer events. It's just all these kind of differences form, and I kind of think that's kind of what makes things unique. Emily, you have any other questions for 772?
No, I think you asked all them, but your robot seems like really cool, and I'm really thankful that you started talking about FTC because I feel like that's is really overlooked now that it's new to Ontario. And myself, I helped mentor an FTC team this year, so I love it. So I'm really thankful that you showed off yours, and yeah, yours it seems pretty cool. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. This was a really cool experience to be on First Live. I've been watching the shows and our team's been watching them for the past few weeks, so it's been really cool.
Well, it's been cool having you, Sean, and like I really enjoyed that you gave us a nice cross section of your team. Like we learned about FTC, we learned about FRC, but we also learned about safety. We learned about the environment project, so we get to see. We get to see all the reasons behind why 772 is a chairman's award-winning team and all that sort of goodness. And so you said you specifically work mainly safety and scouting?
Yes.
What's your scouting setup like?
So what do you mean more about it? Like competitions or? Yeah,
do you use like an app or are you on pen and paper? Like what's the life like what's a day in the life of a 772 scouting competition like?
So for scouting, this year we were using paper, mainly for pens and papers, and we'd have a sheet individually for each match per team. And we were actually working on developing sort of like a computer program where we could import all like this information to sort of save on paper because it's a lot of paper that gets, thrown away at the end of the day. So we wanted to try reducing that as much as possible. So we were working on an Excel spreadsheet that we could sort of just input the data every single match, and we could avoid using a lot of papers. But for what we were planning on doing in Ottawa, we had one sheet for every single match sort of that the team members would fill out, and they'd fill everything out. They put in a binder, and then they had a separate sheet that they'd go around and ask teams from, like, they'd go to the pits and they'd ask the teams specific questions about the robot that maybe they couldn't see from the actual from watching just the matches. And that was sort of the process. And then the day before Alliance selection, we'd go and we'd meet and we'd compile our data together, and we started to discuss what robot matches us best, and we'd make a pick list.
That's fabulous information there. Thank you, Sean, Emily, Levi, Kevin, for sharing everything about 772. This was an exciting team showcase. Really glad to have you on. Really glad to learn a lot about your team. So thank you. Good luck with all your projects. And I can't wait to see how many buttons we all collect next season, because I think that's just a really great initiative. So before we get started with our next team showcase, let's take a look at this video talking about first alums. And we're back, and it's time for another team showcase. Let's do this, Emily.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we've got Team 7520, Team MineKee from North York, Ontario. They've been doing first just since 2019, but they've already got one blue banner, winners last year of the Ryerson University District event. So please welcome. We have Callie, we have Jason, and we have Tina, and we have Josh from Team 7520. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Hi, Tina.
Hi.
Well, welcome, Team MineKee, and how about you start telling us about your team and yourselves?
Sorry for the technical difficulties. I seem to be saying that a lot.
No worries about that.
Oh my gosh, I was muted. Hello, hi.
There you are, Tina. Yeah, we could hear you, we could see you waving, and now it's all good.
Hi.
Hi.
Are we just going to shoot back?
Yeah, your slides are coming up in just in a second, but how about each of you introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Okay, my name is Tina. I'm in grade 11. Do I say my school? Is that?
You can say your school. You can say whatever you want, Tina.
Okay, so yeah, I go to Mark Garneau Collegiate Institute. It's my first year in FIRST Robotics. And I just joined the team this year through like a community outreach events, and I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. What about you, Jason?
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm also in grade 11, and I'm on mechanical for 7520.
Very cool. Hi, Callie. How's it going?
Hi, I'm Callie. I'm grade 10. I really recently joined this team. I was originally like a part of like the media team who was like doing like designing things and like photography and things. So I'm pretty new here, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And finally, Joshua.
Hello, everyone. I'm not going to repeat my name. I'm kind of feeling shy already. I am currently in grade 10. I've been with the team since our first season. I wasn't here since its founding. I was off by a few weeks. So I think that's about it.
All right. And I think your slideshow is ready to go. So let's take a look at the presentation. Tell us about Team MineKee.
Yeah, so we're mainly focused on a lot of community outreach since not a lot of us are able to meet up with each other right now. Yeah, so today we're just talking about some of the events that we've prepared, and hopefully so that people can get to know our team and our outreach events a little bit more. Okay, I guess we'll keep going. So usually we have a bunch of daily online activities and classes that are being held, and we have teachers that are going to be going through our different classes and topics. And then we've done interviews with these people, and they typically teach students from around middle school, elementary school, all the way up to like grades 9, 10-ish. And since we're not able to meet up with each other in person, we've also had some online talent shows with each other, and we all call and dial in and we show each other some cool skills that we've learned. And then we've also had virtual online science fairs with fun topics, and we all show each other some cool ideas and engage with each other about our learning.
The virtual talent shows I'm very interested in. Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time anyone's done virtual talent shows or virtual science fairs, but at a time like this, it's very important for us to be doing something.
It's making something good out of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Taking lemons and making lemonade.
Yeah. I was watching
very sour lemon.
I was watching Jimmy's.
You can just sprinkle a little sugar, Josh, and it'll be okay.
There you go. Yeah.
So let's keep going here. Tell us more about Team MineKee.
Okay.
Any of us?
Yeah, so our goal is really just to provide all our students with the same learning environment, or as close as we can replicate as possible, since they're not able to go to school. So we've created online classes with just students from the team. And also we've introduced our virtual science fair as we've mentioned. And so the point of this is really just to inspire creativity. And so we hope that through our events, the different students in the community, so not only from our team, a bunch of different students locally are able to participate and have fun at home and stay busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have anything to add?
Okay, so as of right now, it's kind of hard to have a unified set of activities for everybody we're involved with, because we're involved with a lot of people. We have elementary school students, middle school students, there are us high schoolers. So when it comes down to a lot of these events, it's actually, you kind of have to make a way for them to be doing something that works universally for all grade levels. And sometimes that means we have to take the average here and there.
And so how do you tailor stuff that can be impactful for all those various age groups that you're dealing with?
So usually we teach, okay. Okay, so should I answer the question, or should I go for the slide? Yes, please. Okay, so that's kind of where the challenge is, because we've had classes with people ranging from grade 3 to grade 9, and that's the same webinar, grade 10 if you include the teachers. So we generally take something that would be relatively recent, or at least we kind of simplify more advanced topics So it's still relevant to higher grade levels, but it's understandable for those who are just joining in or those who are just starting with STEM. So like we might give like a more basic rundown of like mitosis. So I know Anne did a very good presentation on that one. So we wouldn't go into enough details to deter the little kids, but we would make sure to put something in so that anybody learning mitosis would still learn something, or at least would have their learning reinforced. It's also worthwhile to note that like there are some concepts that transcend grade level. They're just useful whenever. So we kind of try to give students like a rundown, basic, bare bones explanation of the scientific method to help them out with the virtual science fair. And the scientific method it's not something that's specific to a grade level. Otherwise, we would have a lot of trouble in our scientific communities today. It's something that can be applied basically everywhere. And it's a skill that's useful for like basically all ages.
I think also it's because a lot of things that we're teaching, it's like relatively new thing that's not always on like an academic school like math and science field. A lot of it is like new things that you don't necessarily have to be a certain grade to learn. So we have like really young kids who are like in elementary school learning things that are the same thing as what like middle school or high schoolers are learning at the same time too.
Well, I think it's probably a really good opportunity for the younger students because they're going to be challenged a little bit to, kind of keep up with the older students. And it's really remarkable that sometimes when you give a young student a challenge, how they rise to it. So I think that's a really cool opportunity that they get to learn alongside older students.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really great that these topics are so applicable with such a big range of grades. And so that's really what we try to focus on with our courses. And so speaking of which, our members really value our community and we really try to give back, which is why we started these whole initiatives in the first place. And so we have a lot of talented high school students on the team that are really engaged and passionate about the sciences or different topics that they're learning at school. And so we try to have everyone teach things that they're passionate about. So we have our frequent online meetings and like we have schedules posted on WeChat, and then a bunch of people tune in and join our meetings. And so we also have video production that we are regularly producing with TSMN, which stands for Toronto Student Media Network. And with them, we engage in creating videos about our outreach and making sure that people know about what we're doing so they can also join us.
How did you get linked up with that group?
So our team coach, Mr. Jin, he actually got in touch with one of the founders of TSMN at a competition, I think. It was at a robotics competition, actually.
Very nice.
Sometime last year, I think. And so they reached out and then we became an affiliate, is what I think how the story goes. I wasn't there. And so through that, we've just started making videos with them and doing interviews. And then on the slide here, there's a photo of me doing an interview at one of the last events to happen this year. I think it was at Durham.
Yep, looks like Durham.
And yeah,
College
so we were doing interviews with different teams that were there and it was really cool.
So we reached out a bit to, well, yes, one of their execs, I guess you could call him. He's a pretty nice guy. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to actually name him right now, am I?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so for our intents and purposes, you can call him Owen. So TSMN is also, I haven't heard too many people actually mention it within my school communities and stuff, but it's a pretty good organization. I would suggest people check it out. They run they often run interviews. They have correspondence from a bunch of FRC teams. They have actually, I'm pretty sure they're also pretty good on social media. They have a strong presence on Instagram. So since all of the people doing like the interviewing are students, I would suggest you go out there and give them some support.
For sure, we can do that. Maybe you guys can post a link in chat when you have the opportunity. So
Okay.
tell us more about what Team MineKey offers.
Well, in the regular season, MineKey is a bit of an umbrella term because at first we had like an FLL team. That was before I came. So we had like FLL. We have a few other non-first run robotics competitions, I guess you could say. But like our main competitions are probably FLL and FRC. So the FRC came much later to us than the FLL team did because, you know, the kids were growing up, right? And we also have on this, well, at least we had on the side WRO, and I think it was VexIQ, but no matter which one of those teams you were really part of, you always had the name MineKey. So at
It
some
really
point,
is like a really like broad umbrella term because we have like so many different things like under like this like MineKey name. It's like there's like the robotics team, and then there's also like the like video production stuff. There's like we do a lot of like interviews and things. Like right now with this current situation, we have like, you know, these like virtual classes and talent shows and these like science fairs. So it's like a really like broad term. We have like a lot of things that we're kind of all doing at the same time.
Well, maybe let's just jump to the next slide and we can see what else is going on with Team 7520.
I haven't taken too long, have I?
No, this is great. We're learning lots of stuff. We're learning about lots of different programs.
Okay, fair enough. Slide? Or?
We will be getting to the next slide in just a second. So, Tino,
Okay.
I've got a question for you before we get, as the next slide comes up.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of being a part of Team MineKey?
My favorite part is definitely meeting new people. I think I've mentioned that before, but I love just like meeting people because I'm part of DECA at my school, and that's like really big at my school, and I just love the energy that you get when you go there. And so when I came to my first competition with the robotics team, and at first I was just amazed. I loved how open and engaging everyone was, and like through the interviews, everyone was so nice and positive and like willing to share their stories. And it was just so positive to see, and so cool and so like heartwarming, because at my school, I know we've had trouble starting up our teams. And so I was asking a bunch of questions like, how do you guys get outreach? Like, how are we going to get money? Like what are some struggles that you guys have had in your teams, and how do you overcome them? And everyone was so open to sharing that, and I thought that was really awesome.
A lot more gracious professionalism.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I
It's
want to know more about
omnipresent today. It's omnipresent.
It's omnipresent everywhere. At least that's what we hope it happens. So I want to hear more about these online classrooms.
Okay, so like, you know, since like the March break and since schools have been closing down, there was like a period of time where like, especially here in Ontario, like our government like wasn't really letting teachers start to teach until like a certain 3-week period yet. So at this point, you know, there were a lot of like especially elementary school students who were just really bored at home, like they didn't really have that much to do. So we came up with the idea of these like online classrooms where we would have our team, which is consisted of like mostly high school students, who would go on and we would teach classes. And I personally have been pretty involved in this, and I've been like teaching classes every 2 or 3 days or so. And it's really easily accessible through all social media platforms. It's just you send a link, they click it, and everyone can just tune in and tune out whenever they want. They're completely free classes, and some people have actually been recording them, so later people can watch the class as a video if they can't be on for that, you know, exact time. And I think the great thing is that a lot of the classes that are happening, they're not like purely academic things. They're not like math and English and things that you will learn in school. Like a few days ago, there was a person who was teaching a guitar lesson, and people who are teaching programming. And it's just a lot of stuff. It's like people kind of sharing their interests with everyone else. And it's just a really great community building thing.
Yeah, I love this. It's a great like bringing everyone together and inspiring others. And I love this.
And just to add, if anyone wants to join in on these classes, the link is tweeted on the Team MineKey Twitter.
So sometimes, since for now our community consists mostly of Chinese families, we would offer classes in Chinese, but more often than not, it's English. So if you're able to understand what we're saying right now, you can probably jump in. There are no prerequisites. There are literally no prerequisites. So sometimes we would just teach something that we're not expecting anybody to know, but is still useful. So everybody starts at the same level. Or sometimes we're teaching learning strategies or just concepts. Really, we're just teaching whatever we have to offer.
Yeah, I love that. And this is something I'd be really interested in. Virtual talent show. Can someone please talk about that?
This is what I'm here
Like,
for. I'm all here for the person in the middle in the unicycle. So,
All right.
Jason, spotlight.
Okay, so I'll talk about the talent show. Basically, we set up a talent show where students have submitted videos of them doing either talents that they knew before or they picked up. At the bottom on the unicycle and juggling, that's me. I recently actually just picked up these skills with the spare time. So, and if you click on the video, you can see a brief compilation of all of the clips we've put together. And it's a very wide array of different skills that people have.
all right, let's see this video. I am here for the unicycling and the juggling and all of it. Jason, do you have any other hidden talents other than unicycling and juggling?
I do play an instrument.
Oh, here we go. We're still working on getting that video going, but in the meantime, Jason, tell us what you were working on.
All right. So basically,
you can talk over the music, Jason.
Okay, so I also have like other like talents such as playing the saxophone, but I decided to show these talents because they were relatively simple and I kind of just learned them off YouTube in a matter of weeks. For example, I just picked up a couple of balls one day and I decided to try and learn juggling. And then afterwards, I bought a unicycle off Amazon. It shipped very quickly and I was able to learn that in around 2 weeks.
2 weeks you learned how to unicycle?
Yep.
That's impressive. Have you seen the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Oh my God, yes.
You know how, so when Ant-Man is under house arrest, which is kind of like social distancing and quarantine, he learns how to do magic tricks?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of like you, Jason. You are basically Ant-Man.
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
Yeah, you're a superhero. You got your little suit. You got the PIM particles. It's like zoom down to the phone. Emily, I know you know what's going on right now.
I know exactly what's going on.
You are totally the MCU fan with me. All right. We believe we have the video ready, so we're going to be seeing Jason on the unicycle and the rest of the virtual talent show right now. Was really impressive. So Tina, like, what inspired this whole concept?
What inspired the talent show?
Yeah.
It was mostly just a lot of us at home, like with not a lot to do. And so to keep ourselves busy and just to hang out together, we just decided to get on a call and send each other videos of each other doing the things that we like to do. Yeah.
It's crazy that this quarantine has inspired us all to like just think of things that we could be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just do it. It's crazy. Like even this show, we just didn't have anything we could do. So here we go.
Here we are, First Canada Live. So let's get back to the slideshow, and maybe we can learn a little bit about your robot for this year.
Oh, yes, about that. I think we would be able to tell you some.
Sure. Well, how about while the slideshow comes back on, you start telling us about the robot.
So the last time I checked, unless anybody has added any stilts onto the robot, we are trench capable. We have a flywheel system, so we shoot balls. We could basically shoot into the hole we could basically shoot into the power, should I call it like the battery place? We could basically score
probably
from
not
the
the battery place, the power port.
Yeah.
Okay, we could score into the power port from even around like the trench, which is hopefully going to get to be part of our strategy. Okay, we're back. Okay. But
That's okay. Keep talking about
slide.
Keep talking about the robot. You need to go
Okay.
forward a slide?
No, this slide is good. So other things that we're going to have the robot do. Last year, our strategy was kind of heavy on defense, but like, I don't think that's going to be our strategy for this year. This year, we're going to be more offensive, more on the scoring. I think we have a pretty solid hanging system, but we haven't really gotten to test it out like anywhere, anytime recently. So that's the other difficulty with a robotics team during this time. So the keyword here is team. If one person could one-man army the robot, then we would be seeing our robot continue to like change a lot. But that's not exactly the case. Right now, our in-person team activities are severely limited because everybody is doing their part and we're being responsible citizens. So the robot, the last time I saw it would be a solid month ago. So once again, I'm not the most qualified person to talk about the robot. I can tell you it's a pretty epic robot. There's still some debate as to what its name is. There's been everything from R2D2 to Dragon, because that's something in our logo. So if I move my head a bit, you might be able to see it.
Yeah, we can see that dragon.
Yeah.
Like, about the only thing the team can still do for the robot together is give it a name. Because
R2D2, and that's my vote.
You know what, Callie, I think you win. I think the robot's now named R2D2.
Yeah.
Are we going to get hit by copyright?
No, because there's a specific exception for the use of droids this year, just in terms of robot names. So that's totally fine. You can name your robot R2D2. We are running out of time here. So I was wondering if you have any final words for us. If someone wants to tell us, just kind of wrap it up for Team MineKee.
Mm-hmm.
I say this a lot. I did not expect the time to pass so quickly. I say that in every presentation I ever do. And I've lost marks for it because I would get wrapped up. This is good conversation. It's good to be out here. It's good to be connecting with people. It's good to be back in that kind of omnipresent, gracious professionalism. It's good to be back in the first environment. And I kind of got lost. You may have been lost, but you've been found right now. So thank you, Team MineKee, for coming on the show today. This was really great to hear about your program, the Virtual Science Fair. Jason, I can't wait to know what skill you pick up next. I don't want to see fire swallowing. That might be a good one. But I want to see the full circus performance. So next year at an event, we can, try it all out. So thank you to Team MineKee for being on the show today.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, community. I guess, thank you.
Yeah.
Humanity in general.
Humanity in general, that's great. And so as we wrap things up here, Emily, what did you think of today's show?
I thought it was pretty good. Like we had a good balance there with like 2 story times and 2 rote reveals.
Yeah, we got to learn a little bit about FTC. We got to hear more about environmental initiatives. And I just think again, what I love about First Canada Live is we get a cross section of our community. We heard about chairman's type things. We spoke with an alum who's currently in university and she's talking about, her trying to develop get internships. And then we heard the amazing success stories from Ankita and from Laura. And then, of course, the Herman story, which was just like fabulous. So this is your second time doing the show, Emily. And I want to know, do you have a quick story you want to share with us right now? I know I'm putting you on the spot. You were like a last minute replacement here today, but
I don't know.
No pressure.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. This is my third year on a robotics team. Probably one of the best stories I have is probably when I got on the youth council.
Let's hear about it, because everyone wants to learn more about the youth council.
So when I was applying, so I don't think even Kim knows this. When I was applying for the youth council, it was like we had to do like answering a bunch of questions, and it came out in August, like the second week of August. Well, in August, I was at a leadership camp in LIT. I didn't have my phone that week, so I got my phone on the weekends. So I found about it on the first weekend, wrote it all down in my notepad, and then I was working on it slowly throughout that week, and then submitted the next week when I saw my mom in the middle of the whole thing. So that was kind of scary to me, because I'm like, great, so like I'm doing this in the middle of this whole camp, because I was gone for a whole month.
Right.
And it was just super nerve-wracking. And then a few weeks later, I got a call with a bunch of questions, and then a few weeks late, and then like a week or so later, I get a call from Kim, and she's like, yeah, so you're thinking about, you didn't have much, you didn't have too much as other people, but you know, we still chose you because you think you'll be great. And yeah, it was very nerve-wracking.
Well, and it's been amazing to see all the different things you've done. Like you specifically mentioned that you've worked on Project Green, and how that's all tied together with today's show. So it's been great. Thank you for coming on as a co-host, Emily.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what we have on board for tomorrow?
What do we have on board tomorrow?
Okay, so first off, we have a round table with the First Canada senior mentors, including Swaggy P. We got Sarah Sills. So that's going to be some goodness. We also have story time with the First Canada MC, Sydney, who's a Team 1305 alum. We have a team showcase with a team that you know pretty well. Team 1114 Symbiotics is going to be on the show.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. And we have a really, really good story time with none other than the voice of First himself, Blair Hundermark from First Headquarters, is going to be on the show tomorrow.
That'll be a good show.
What I'm so pumped about having Blair on is, you think of every big match throughout First history, basically since the year 2000, Blair has been up front and center for all of it. For Beatty winning the world championship, from the Poops versus 1114 on Einstein, just every major moment in First history, Blair has been there. So imagine the stories that we're going to have tomorrow. So make sure,
really.
For all our viewers, jump into chat tomorrow. Drop your questions in for Blair. Drop your questions in for 1114 for the First senior mentors. For Sydney, it's going to be a great show. First Canada Live, we just keep having fun. Emily, I want to especially thank you for coming in last minute on this show and just being awesome. And how about you close us out tonight?
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Yeah, so I was here last minute, but lots of fun. And we'll see you tomorrow with the fun show lined up we have.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.